Alrighty guys, welcome back to another episode of the On-Site Insight podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tompkins, and today we have Hayden from Anco Carpentry Construction. He's based up at the sunny coast, and Anco runs a very well-established construction company up there. So Hayden, I want to thank you again, man, for coming on. You're a fucking busy man, and you run a much bigger show than I do. And thank you again, man, for coming down. And
Thanks for having me down here, mate. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, man. So basically, as I said, off camera we were chatting there a little bit. So I just want to start with, if you want to just give our listeners anyway, a brief rundown on when you started, what you sort of do now. And all that sort of stuff.
So basically, pretty textbook sort of start. Went to school, high school, never really clicked with high school. A lot of tradies don't. It's the textbook sitting in school at a desk for 8 hours a day. Like you got your mates there. You're more worried about mucking around, having a good time, than sitting there putting your head down and getting your work done. So did that. Finished school. Didn't do much the last 2 years, really. Bit of a piss take, to be honest with you. Finished, graduated. I used to do ice hockey back competitively through high school.
Yeah, sweet.
My coach ran
Where did you do ice hockey at?
Acacia Ridge through there. So we actually ended up flying around the world playing ice hockey, doing that. So played at a pretty high level. But my coach back then, he ran a building company on the north side of Brisbane. So just an old school sort of builder. Old school builder. We did everything from the ground up basically. So we'd go there, peg out the houses, box up slabs, pour the slab,
traditional,
do the frame, do everything from start to finish. Go there, do the turf preps, lay the turf, do all that shit.
Were you just the one apprentice with him?
Nah, man, it was he would have had probably 20 employees at that time. So back then he would have been doing about 100 houses a year. But just family-run business. In my eyes, perfect place to do an apprenticeship. Because you do learn all aspects of carpentry. Where, these days you get a lot of guys just do the one thing. Cladding, fix outs, whatever. They do the one thing. They come out of their time, and then they're fucking. Oh, can you hang a door? No, I can't hang a door. Can you do a frame?
And we're going to touch on this as it goes on, because we run, just so you give contextual to guys, we run businesses that is that contracting game for carpentry. So, But anyway, so
I won't get off topic here. Back then, he was a hard ass man. He fucking was a hard ass man. If you weren't working, he'd let you know about it. He'd be gunning for you, and he'd be India. And a lot of the apprentices couldn't take it back then. Quit, whatever. But I'll turn around now, and I'm still in contact with him now, and thank him for everything, because
still doing what he's doing, or?
Still doing what he's doing. Obviously a lot older now. His kids are coming through, starting to take over the company. But he's still out there, man, screeding slabs, doing, man, he is a hard worker, and he's just that old school mentality.
Some guys are just built like that.
Just tough, man. He'd be doing close to 200 houses a year now. Well-established company. But anyway, so it was working for him, did my apprenticeship through there. It was also because there was heaps of other apprentices there. So you always got that competition sort of thing, you can carry 10 studs, I'll carry 15, that sort of thing. But it just makes you, work so much harder, and it's a good bit of banter. But anyways, so I did that. Did a lot of concreting with him as well. So I did probably close to 2 years of concreting. And I had a chat to him, and I just said, mate, I want to get back to the carpentry side. I feel I'm falling behind on it.
So you were doing a carpentry apprenticeship but you were primarily doing a lot of concrete.
So if you were good at the carpentry side of it, the concrete is a poacher, because you have the two divisions. So they'd poach you across there, and that's what happened to me. And I thought it was great, man, because you'd be knocking off at 12 o'clock, going to the pub, doing all that sort of stuff. I ended up battling them up and just said, I want to get back to the carpentry side of it. So I did that, finished my time with him. He always said from the start he wanted 12 months out of me post.
That a lot of guys do. It was quite normal. It is quite normal. Not so much now. But even when I
So finished my time with him, gave him my 12 months, and then had a meeting with him and just said, I basically want to go subcontractor to you. And he didn't have a problem with it. He said, "Yep, that's fine, mate." Like, and he actually told me, he said, "You'll make good coin because you're a hard worker."
Yeah.
So I got an apprentice on, started subbing to him.
Just on hourly rate, or you were taking contracts?
No, contract, man. So square meter rate.
Yeah.
Just looking back
slinging,
now. Just head down, ass up, man. Like getting it done, all stick frame, man. Like I didn't see a prefab frame until I was second year running my company.
Yeah.
So all stick frame up to then. Looking back on that apprentice, man, I probably relied on him way too much because it was me and him. If he had a sick day or if he, got hurt or something, I'm there standing trusses, standing frames by myself.
But correct me if I'm wrong, man, but like even now it's the case, you know what I mean? Like if you're going down the path of doing that contracting work, you don't have that much margin to get.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the guys out there where they just run an apprentice, like because that's all that there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have the ability to be like, I'll get a top grade chippy working with me. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
There's not enough in it.
Yeah.
Like,
No, there's not. And back then, like that apprentice, man, I remember he was buzzing a house, whatever. He was holding the stud, he was buzzing top of his fingers off, man. And this is my only apprentice at the time. So he's had a month off of that. And then so I'm out there framing, standing trusses, doing everything by myself, just thinking this is fucking
body's just
close to giving it away, man. And then finally got him back. He got blind. The weekend he came back, he got blind, tried to do firewalking. And then he had another 2 months off, man. And I just thought, like, I need to get some more guys because I just can't trust this. Like, can't rely on this kid anymore. So at that point there, that's sort of when I started getting a couple of guys working underneath me.
Yeah.
Still subbing for that builder at the time.
Yeah.
Subbed just to him for about 18 months. And then came back from Christmas one year, back when there wasn't as much work around. And I remember it was a January thinking, before in the December we would have had, we did all these frames stuff. So, you got all your lockups, clad fixes to go back onto.
Yep.
In January, drove to the jobs, all his hourly rate boys were on them. And I called the supervisor. Supervisor just goes, "No, we don't have enough work."
Yeah, because January, December's always cooked.
Yeah. So here's me going, like, what do you do next? So just drove from the top of the Sunshine Coast to the bottom, just into estates everywhere, man. Just trying to find, finding builder signs, doing that thing, just calling anything with an email on it, emailing it, calling everyone, man. So
obviously
did that.
Snag some things.
Yeah. Snagged something there. Got in with a couple other builders on the coast.
Yeah.
And then that's where I did my first prefab frame. Then. And then, just kept growing the crew with that in that sort of high volume game. Yeah. Eventually split into two crews, had two crews running.
Yeah.
And then from there, we just started getting bigger jobs and just started going into townhouses, terraces, that sort of thing. Looking back then, I obviously never priced them right back then, going from a project builder to them, and you're trying to work out what you're charging, because they're all price jobs then.
But this is the journey, right?
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of guys don't understand. It's like, you don't just go from, being an apprentice or just becoming qualified to then landing a contract on a $3 million school.
Yeah.
Right? Doing the carpentry scope on that. You literally do have to go through the ringer of all that sort of stuff. And, for a similar scenario, like we used to say, man, looking back now, some of the contracts that I used to see that used to come across my desk and I used to look at, I'm like, fuck, like how is that even legal? The dollar figure that they were putting out. Dumb enough, and this is something that I've spoken about on here 1,000 times over, right? It's catch-22 because and we're getting a little bit off topic. We're going to go back to that. But this is just something I'm so passionate about because it happens everywhere you look. Who's at fault? Is it the subby that accepts the rate, or is it the builder that sets the rate? Right? So are they accepting it or setting it? Who's the one that's the problem? I feel like it's both. I feel like there's not enough education for the guys out there that are accepting fucking $15.80 a square meter. Right? To be like, nah, we don't want that. But then you got the builder on the other hand that's like, oh, it's not our fault. We just set the rate. But then yet they're the first ones to whinge when the guy walks. And then they say, but you accepted it. So it's like, fuck, it's like we're not, I just feel like it's still even now, it's like there's not a fucking, you know, they're
Yeah.
not, you know, now it's a little bit different from me per se.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I do have a relationship with guys that be like, listen, like we're not da 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 da. This is our rate that we need
Mm-hmm.
da 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 da. But at the start, you don't think about that. You just, as you said,
Yeah.
you're just driving around.
Yeah,
Hey mate,
yeah.
you got a job? Yeah, I'll send you through the purchase order. Here it is. Boom, you just do it.
Yeah. And with those jobs, man, the purchase order sort of work, there is money in them if it's you, 2 apprentices, right? And
Yeah.
you are busting your ass.
You're busting your ass.
You
6
can
days
make,
a week.
you know,
You're fucking.
You can make a bit of money on those ones,
Yeah.
but it is like day in, day out, 12-hour days, busting your ass. You know what I mean? Like,
And you get called for defect. You got called back for defects.
yeah,
It's fucking.
yeah, exactly. In my eyes, it's you know, if you accept a job, you're a big boy. You're in business.
Yeah.
If you take that job on, you need to do the right thing, and you got to finish that job and make sure it's compliant.
Yeah.
Because no one held a gun to your head and said, do that work, you know? And it's all learned. It's easy for me to say now, but like back then when you're young, you know?
Yeah. I just think it's about education for, you know, for the guys to, and you need to learn your lesson quick and fast. If you do a job and you're like, I didn't make any money on it, don't follow the fucking carrot.
Yeah.
If you're going to not make any money, you're better off just sitting at home
100%.
watching Netflix.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Until you work out how much you need and then go and chase that or find that.
Yeah.
Don't just fall down this fucking hole of being like, oh, but that builder said he's going to keep me busy for 18 months. I don't, like, we've all heard it. Mate, I've heard it a fucking 1,000 times over. Yeah, mate, I've got 18 months in the pipeline. You haven't got to go, no. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I don't fall for that now. I'm like, great. Like, let's do this one job.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a look at it at the end of it. And if I'm not making anything, then I'm not fucking doing it. If I make some money, then happy days. We'll keep going. But a lot of young guys that are like just qualified, they're like, oh, sweet. I haven't got to go nowhere for 18 months, mate.
Exactly. And like when you're young, getting into business, you know, you take a few of those jobs on just to keep the wheels moving, you know, like just to get your foot in the door with a few until you know, because you can't finish your time, start your company and then go straight into quoting townhouses, you know. You need to slowly build that company up.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is obviously, well, project builders is one way. But, you know, if you could start, you're not just going to finish and know how to quote straight away.
Yeah.
You know, like it just comes over time, you know. It's a
name, a brand as well. You know what I mean? Like you need to create that know-how that you guys are the ones to do it. And,
that's right.
People talk around. Like you don't just win the stuff. That's what I mean. It's just the relationship building and you know.
And you see all the guys that just go from 0 to 100, they normally go down just as fast, you know? So like I was subbing for years before we started getting into the bigger jobs. So, you know, you need that sort of backing behind you because if you just try to go to those big ones straight away, you just run out of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, big time.
30-day end of months, and then, you know, they find a defect and then they don't, you know what it's like.
Oh, yeah. I was literally that was the last email I was just on then was one. But, yeah, it's constant, man. So, all right, fast forward a little bit, and then we'll go back because I want to go backwards and forwards with you. So, fast forward to now, what's your structure sort of look like at the moment? All right.
I should do a shout out to my wife now, to be fair, because I wouldn't be anywhere without her.
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly get that one over. Man, like, I don't think the partners get enough credit.
No.
Because at the end of the day, like, you know, they're the sounding board. They're the ones hearing all the shit, the good shit, the bad shit, everything, you know. So I wouldn't be anywhere without her.
Yeah.
It's a quick one. But our structure now, so she was doing a lot of our admin stuff.
Yeah.
She's now stepped away from that. She's got her own, she's got a full-time job in finance. So she's doing her thing. She still does payroll for me.
Yeah.
And Basses. And then I'm in the office full-time.
Yeah.
I've got an estimator. And then I've got a 2IC who's 50-50. So half in the office, half outside running that stuff for me.
Yeah.
He's another one, man. Like I wouldn't, same thing. Like the company wouldn't be where it is without him.
Yeah.
He's got my back 100%. So
Yeah.
and you need that. I always get asked the question from builders and stuff. Oh, is it just your company? And short answer is yes. But it wouldn't be a company without the guys around me and the team.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So
you're only as good as the team that you got. Like,
100%.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
So what was going back to when you were subbing, right? And you just now got a few guys. You got 2 teams. You're still hash bashing a little bit. You're taking purchase orders. You're quoting. You're setting rates. You're doing this, that, and the other. What was because you run a fairly large team now. What was the point in the road where you were like, you know, all right, I've got, let's just say you had 10 guys, 2 teams, or
Mm-hmm.
you might have 8 or whatever. You're still on the tools. At what point were you like, fuck, like I need to either back off the tools a little bit? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what was that sort of? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was. I was forced to basically.
Yeah.
It wasn't a choice. It was getting up, 4 in the morning, doing emails, still being at work at 6:30.
Yeah.
Doing a full day, getting home, doing emails, and just get burnt. It just got burnt out.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Like it's only so long you can do that for.
Yeah.
Did that for probably 12 months,
Yeah.
and then just couldn't keep going
couldn't
with
do
it.
it.
Yeah, and plus like once you get the bigger jobs, there's a lot more admin that goes on with it as well.
A lot.
So it was the same sort of time that was coming on board, and
Did you have your 2IC like in your so talk to us about that? Did you have these guys in and around you at that point, and you sort of said to them, "Hey, listen, like this is what I'm thinking about doing," and you're open about the,
Yeah, I had a chat to
Yeah.
my 2IC, and he was on board because he knows.
Yeah.
Well, we'd sort of hit the glass ceiling at that point,
Yeah.
without me jumping off and spending more time in the office. We'd just be doing the same work.
Same stuff.
Yeah, same stuff.
Yeah.
So, ended up spending a lot more time in the office, and then just kept growing the crew, man. Like, just kept winning jobs.
Yeah.
We just did a really good job, man. So then we had builders reaching out to us, sort of larger builders. We got in with one developer builder on the coast.
Yeah.
And that was our foot in the door into commercial.
Yeah.
We still do work for them today.
Yeah.
But they pretty much, we're their preferred subby. Their company was growing massive as well. So
then it just gets to the point, it's like how far you want to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't care what anyone, there's heaps of work out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you get sent jobs all the time.
Yeah.
And it can get to the point even now where you're just like, fuck, like how big of a team, like, do you even have the capacity to do it? Do you want to get the capacity? Do you want to get the guys to do it? Like,
yeah.
It's fucking constant.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was us last year. So last year we hit our peak with employees.
Yeah.
We got up to about 45 guys, and it was chaos, man. Like, it was when we got
How do you manage that though? Like, because fuck, like, were they on wages? Like,
everyone on wages, man. No subbies. So everyone on wages. 30 to 35 was our sweet spot.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when everything was running smoothly.
Yeah.
We took on. I took on too much work.
Yeah.
I don't say we because it was me. I was going, being the director, you're thinking, oh yeah, we'll have that job finished by there. You program it out, but then shit happens and that one's running behind, another one starts. So you're just scrambling to get guys.
Yeah.
Did that. Same time that was happening, I was getting married last year.
Yeah.
In August.
Yeah.
So it just got to a point, man, like the morning of my wedding, phone was ringing and I was just thinking, this is not worth it, eh?
Yeah.
It also, when we're running at that size.
And you're bankrolling that week to week. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
On a 30, and sorry, I'm just going to go back, like, because this is a constant, like, a lot of guys don't have context of what is involved when you're running that sort of shit. For us that are in that sort of space, like, when you run a contracting company, essentially, right, you may very well be on 30, 45-day payment terms. So for the work that, say, for instance, you start work now, Hayden sends boys out to a site right now. In 30 days or 45 days, he'll then receive the money of the guys that he sent there today. So he has to then bankroll that, all those guys, fucking everything. He's got to bankroll that whole thing for that amount of time every single week until he gets that first payment. And it's like, man, fuck, it can get...
Yeah, it gets tight, man. And, no lines of credit. And this is when I was saying before, that's where people can get into trouble.
Yeah.
Is if you push too hard, you don't grow organically.
Yeah.
You try to go too fast because, you don't, until you're in it, you don't really know how much it's going to be, cost. You can't foresee people holding payments, builders holding payments, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was manageable. Like, we were doing it and it was fine. We were making good coin, but it came to the point it was a risk to reward sort of scale. And I was just thinking, even the safety side of it, man, like, that's actually sort of why because we've scaled back now. So now we're back down to about 20 to 25, running between those numbers. And it was just a risk, like the risk mitigation, like, it was not worth it. Every time I phoned a ring, I'd think, fuck, who's shot himself with a nail gun now? 45 guys running around job sites with nail guns.
Who's falling through a subfloor? Who's fucking...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I don't want that on my conscience.
Yeah.
So it was just just that side of it. Even contractual risk as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're signing a lot more contracts. You know, you miss one thing, you do a contract review, you miss one thing, you know, and then you cost you a shitload of money. Yeah. Like we had this one job, man. We signed a contract for, and it was a shop facade.
Yeah.
It was, probably 3,000 square meters of cladding in it.
Yeah.
It was a discussion that it was all going to be done off scaffolding. Scaffolding was up when we signed the contract. Yep, that was fine. Went to go do the job. Scaffolding came down. It was in there. They were to supply access, but supplied us a boom. Straight away, that 3 times the time it takes.
Yeah, 100%.
So straight away, just shit like that. And, you know, it's a learning curve, man. Like, no one teaches you this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But now, you know.
So you went there, the scaffold was up,
yeah.
assuming in the contract that it said we'll supply access.
Yeah.
But then you get there and they go, oh, yeah, we are supplying access, but we're not supplying your scaff.
No. Fucking a boom lift, you know, which 3 times the time it takes.
So then the argument is, well, fuck, like, who's at fault? You know, and then what do you do?
Yeah. And that, you know, you're a big boy, you sign the contract. So it's like,
yeah.
It's just that sort of stuff, man. Like anyone that says that, you know, business goes straight up is full of shit, man. It's full of lessons. Yeah. You know,
you lose money a lot faster than you make it.
Yeah, and they're the lessons you remember when it hits your back pocket. But yeah, so we sort of hit that point there with that many guys, and we just thought it's not worth it. You know, the extra money, it's not worth the headache. So we're back down now, and we're just cruising now. Like, you know, got 2025 booked out, good jobs in front of us. But cruising along nicely.
Yeah.
We are trying to get out of the townhouse scene a little bit.
You always just get sucked back to it. I feel. It's the same, man. It's the same fucking thing that we're in. It's like every time that I shoot for like the North Star, and I'm like, nah, we're out of the resi space. We're out of the townhouse space. Fucking, what happens? Fucking this guy who said, oh, mate, I got this. Like, oh.
Yeah.
And then you price it up. You're like, oh, surely not. And then like, oh, yeah, you get it. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like thankful that you get it, but it's just one of those things. Once you're known for doing them, and a lot of the guys, like I was literally speaking to a developer last week, and he just said like there is not a lot of large because you need a fucking big team to do that sort of work. Like you can't just run off a 3 or 4 man crew on a fucking 56 pack townhouse site.
No.
Like there's too much.
Yeah,
you know? That 4 man crew is gonna fucking die.
Yeah. And then you get the builders that try to get 10 different four man crews, you know, and then that's a shit fight as well.
I could list a few builders that are running around.
Yeah. So that's our thing. We go, if there's other subbies on site, we're not interested in the job. Yeah. It's either we have the full package or nothing.
Yeah, and that's a lesson that you got to go down as well. Like I've been on job sites where there's like 118 fucking block townhouse units, and they all want them done. You look at the program, and it's like, how are you going to fucking facilitate this? Like, there is not even enough guys in Brizzy to do this fucking job. Like, oh no, we're going to get. You know, but the CAs and the project manager, like all these guys, they're just ticking a box. They couldn't give a fuck.
No.
As long as they get that purchase order sent out to whoever it is, tick.
Yep.
Done. Their job's done.
Yep.
They're not vetting these fucking subbies. They're not checking if they've got the capacity. They're not they've got their license and stuff. Yeah, congratulations, mate. But it's one qualified guy with 3 apprentices, and you've just given them fucking. But it goes back to one of those things. It's like, who's at fault, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really just trying to make these guys aware of, like, you know, we all need to get better, because I feel like there's such a divide with builders and subby carpentry gangs, right? Every builder under the sun, they go, oh, nah, fucking, you know, they all can sit there and they ramble on about, oh, this fucking carpentry gang shit. I don't fucking trust this. I don't trust that. It's like, okay, well, let's all fucking collectively, you know, come up with some sort of thing where the carpentry guys that are looking to get into are a little bit more educated, and the builders are a little bit more educated in the fact of, okay, well, don't fucking dose that guy up with that amount of work. You know what I mean? Like, pull back a little bit and be like, all right, mate, like you just do that, and then let's both see if you're comfortable with it moving forward. But no, they couldn't give a fuck.
No,
they just be like, yeah, man, here it is. You want more? Yeah, I'll give it to you. Yeah, because they're just ticking the box.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But those jobs, they get the other crews, you know, small crews and stuff on. They normally end up going to shit anyway. Yeah. Because
every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. One, you know, they get a small crew and that has zero idea about safety, you know.
Yeah.
On a commercial site, can have no idea what is going on.
Yeah.
With that, quality is normally shit.
Yeah.
Because they're used to just doing project builders. sort of stuff. But it just, yeah, like.
All right, guys, congratulations. You're halfway through this episode. I hope you guys are really enjoying it. But first, I just want to make a special thank you to Ideal Group Australia. Without them, I wouldn't be able to bring this podcast to you. So special thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Buckle in and get ready to listen to the end of this episode. I could literally sit here and just fucking ramble on about all the issues that I've ever had and the lessons that I've learned, and it's just like I could sit here for like 4 hours and just literally not name and shame, but you know, I don't know. I'm a little bit I've got a little bit of a different standpoint with the whole contracting model, right? Because you know, the tick and flick of the purchase orders that get sent out. Because what happens is a large developer, right? I'm going to give the listeners anyway a little bit of a fucking insight into what actually happens in this construction game for the most part. Now, I'm not talking about the custom builds, the schools, the fucking pubs and clubs. I'm talking about the large multi-residential stuff that happens in and around Brisbane and the outer skirts. Because I'm talking like we're now talking like 250 plus unit sites, massive developments. You're talking 50 million more, if not more, right? What happens is these large developers, they just, or builders, developers, whatever you want to call them, they just basically pump these purchase orders. They create the rate. Who knows where they've got the rate from? I don't know if they've just using old rates from 1995 or if they're just pulling it out of their ass. They create the rate, they then create the purchase order. The purchase order is just a square meter rate, whatever the townhouse is. They push it out to guys like us and they say, do you accept? I've got 25. Oh, yep. No worries. For guys like us, we just run the number. We go, fuck, it's a $400,000 contract. Bing, 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 bing. Alarms go off. And then you do it. But then what happens is you soon realize that, fuck, there's so much more involved. And then you lose out. You want to pull the pin. They say, no, you can't. We're going to hit you with LDs and all the fucking shit. And then they get a sour taste because they're like, oh, we didn't make you sign that fucking contract, blah, 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 blah. This is what I mean about the education side of it. These guys that are doing this sort of stuff, they've got university degrees. They've got all the fucking know-how. They sit in a floor office. Why not educate the contractors that you're getting a little bit and say, hey, we understand that you're new to this game. You haven't done a lot. Why don't we just do one? Because what's going to happen, I know that they're going to say, well, it's not our fucking problem. But it's everyone's fucking problem. Am I wrong? Right? It's everyone's problem to a degree.
Yeah.
Because then it will iron out all the issues that they're going to have.
Yeah.
Because they might find that they're not the right contractor to get. Maybe get someone else. And then I feel like it'll smooth out the relationship. Because like for us now, like we've got different relationships. Like we're doing stuff for like tier 2, tier 1 sort of guys. So it's a little bit more B2B, right? It's not really emotional based. It's all just like, this is what it is. This, you give us the price. And then as long as you can cover it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm more talking down on the surface level for the guys that are like just about to start, or they're thinking about just starting out on their own and they see these things come through. Just, be very fucking careful,
right? Man, yeah.
And reach out to other guys that you see, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many guys have reached out to me in the DMs and be like, wait, man, I got this, like, what do you reckon? Or who's this, like, have you got any recommendation on this build? Have you done stuff for him?
Yeah.
Man, I'm fucking open and honest. Like, I'll be like, yeah, no, like.
100%. Like once you sign that contract, they have you. And when you're young, you don't actually think about what it means.
Yeah.
Is that there is a lot of education out there at the same time for subbies. One is learning the hard lessons, which cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
But two is, doing your due diligence, man. Like, learning how to read a contract properly.
Yep.
Or if not, go somewhere and get a contract review properly. Spend, $3,300 for a lawyer to go through your contract and make sure, which is a lot of money at the same time. Yeah. But how much it can cost you, like if you're young starting out, what is it, LDs, 10 grand a day or something, what's that going to cost you in the long run of it when you spend $3,300 to mitigate your risk to write your capped LDs at 5% of your subcontract value instead of just open-ended where they just put you out of business. And that's the stuff that they don't teach you.
Yeah.
You don't learn that stuff in your trade.
Nah, you don't even learn it and you do Cert 4, you do your diplomas, you get your fucking license, whatever the shit. You don't learn that sort of shit.
Yeah.
And it's right. like, It's so twisted. Like I did a statistic thing a while back now about the percentage of I think construction, mainly in carpentry anyway, the statistics of like the amount of guys that finish, and then out of those guys that finish, how many of them go out there and work on their own. You know what I mean? The statistics through the fucking roof. It's like 1 in 2 guys are going to go out there and work on their own. So would you not think that, they would create some sort of thing where we can teach guys a little bit more about that side of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
To go on your own?
Yeah,
you know? But anyway, I'm just rambling on. All right. So moving forward, you had massive growth, obviously last year, going from 20 to, I think you said 45.
Yeah, 45 at the peak, yeah.
So when you were at that 45, did you have it split into different teams, or how did you actually... I know you said that it was fucked and you lost the handle of it, but what was your plan with that? And how did you go even resourcing that to get the fucking guys? You know what I mean?
We did have a good team.
Yeah.
So it was myself, my 2RC, he'd look after the sites on the coast. So we'd probably have from Noosa down to Caloundra, we might have five different developments going on.
Yeah.
Under him would be the leading hands.
Yeah.
And then those guys would be running their teams.
Yeah.
So on every site, we'd have our whiteboard set up, whatever. Yeah. Like we were very, very on to being organised, that sort of thing. Like each day, everyone needs to have their own jobs.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, that sort of thing. We just, we probably put too much trust in guys that just weren't vetted enough.
Yeah.
Hadn't been in the company long enough. You think, you talk to someone, they say everything you want to hear to your face, that sort of thing. Yeah. But the proof's in the pudding, man. At the end of the day, like there's only so many excuses.
So I'll keep going with this, but I want to talk to you about that whole model.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of guys are just listening to that, but they're not actually understanding the amount of fucking work that goes into doing that. Because you don't just run 5 developments with a bunch of leading hands and then you just throw the fucking, you know what I mean? So how did you create a procedure, or how did you actually create that whole model of the leading hands followed by the 2IC, you know what I mean?
So
and the guys underneath it.
A lot of our leading hands had done their time with us.
Yeah.
So they've done their apprenticeships. We've tried employing a lot of tradies.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't cut it, man. Like compared to the guys that have been with us, done their time, the 4 years, because they just know how we work. They know.
You just grew from within. You just basically.
Yeah, pretty much, man. And like last year, we signed off 5 apprentices.
Yep. And
they're absolute guns, man. Like we treat we give our apprentices a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Once they get to that 3rd year, they sort of swap roles with whatever tradie they're working with.
Yeah.
And then, they're in the hot seat, then they're plumbing up walls, they're, doing the cladding, obviously with close supervision.
Yeah.
They're working with the tradie one-on-one. But I like giving them the responsibility. So then once they finish their time, they're ready. You know what I mean? Like they know what they're doing. They obviously still have a lot of stuff to learn.
Yeah.
You don't finish your 4 years and just know exactly what you're doing, But, like that's how we sort of got those leading hands on board is within the company, And then it was when we started, that's when I was saying the 30 to 35 was fine. And then we started getting a few other guys on board externally. And that's when, it started getting a bit out of hand. Nothing went wrong. It was just, they just weren't running efficiently as you'd expect or as we wanted. And then at that time we were pushing into a bit more fully commercial, full commercial sites.
Yeah.
And then you start hiring commercial guys and you've priced them on what your good guys can do the job off. And then you get a commercial team that's fucking want to just sit in the EWP all day, cruising around. Yeah.
It's a completely different game, yeah.
Completely different game.
Yeah,
so
you can't just throw the same rate.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we had the clean out end of last year, which it's good to do from time to time.
Oh, 100%. You're just cutting the dead weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
And as you go down the journey, you soon learn that you need to go from employing fast to firing fast.
Yeah.
Because it is, you need to cut that dead weight the sooner the better.
And it's not fun. Like no one likes, but it's just part of it, man. Like it's just part of the job.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had to do that. But yeah, now we're back to the 2025. We sort of, when we were running that big team, we're at that point where on the jobs we're at that point where we nearly had to put on, you're starting to look at partition ceilings, packages, linings, that sort of thing. Because the bigger the job, the less carpentry is in it, So
yeah, so and you the larger this is more going down the path that for a lot of the guys that listen, they're probably not even at that point yet. But you get to the point where a lot of these builders that you're working for, it's more enticing to them the more scope you can wrap.
Mm-hmm.
So the more of the package that you can take, the better it is. The better chances are of you winning it as well.
Yeah.
You know? So, but in doing that, you have to be fucking set up to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you're at that crossroad where you're like, fuck, am I going to take the CMP or am I going to, you know?
Yep. So we got to that point there. And then, you know, you're competing against plasterers on price for your cladding because they're a one-stop shop, man. Like, they're doing all your internal fit out. They're doing everything.
Yeah, everything. And then you look at then do you run a subby model for that?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you get subby, you get a subby, you price off the subby, you just run your margin on it. And then all you're doing is managing. Yeah.
So that's sort of the point that we got to.
Yeah.
And we were just weighing up the options, whether we
dabble in that?
We didn't. No, we didn't. No,
okay.
A few of the builders reached out to say, "Hey, can you do this?"
Yeah.
On the jobs, and we didn't want to take on that risk at that point.
Yeah.
You know, we still do some of the larger jobs, but it's mostly, you know, roof structures, decks, internal fit out.
Yeah.
That's
so just carpentry at the moment.
Just carpentry. Yeah.
Any plans on stepping into the CMP or the roofing or anything like that?
Not at this stage.
Not at this stage. Yeah.
Half of the model of downsizing, because I love resi, man. Like I did my trade, you know, did my apprenticeship in resi.
Yeah.
Half of me wants to get back to doing our own builds. On the side.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the plan, is to drop back 20, 25 guys, just get that running. That basically runs itself now.
Yeah.
That's why I say he does, you know, the day-to-day stuff. I'm forecasting 12 months ahead.
Yeah.
He's doing, you know, the next few months, all that sort of stuff. So I'm at that point where I can basically step away. And now I'm looking at doing a few of our own developments.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the process of doing that at the moment.
Yeah.
Got a block of land up at Kalluan, so
yeah,
just doing the feasibility on what way we go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, we got to that point in the commercial side, and we just they just have you by the balls in commercial. You know, like it just depends on what you want.
That's it. It just depends what sort of game you want to run. Like for me, I love it. You know what I mean? Like, I love the nitty gritty of the commercial game and the going B2B. Like, that's definitely a passion of mine. You know, we've come from the other way of doing high residential custom home builds, like 1.5 mil. Like, that was our thing, and then we stepped into the, you know, we organically went the contracting route, and I was like, I want to go that path.
Yeah.
Just because I was sick of doing, you know, B2C, like dealing with clients. But anyway, so going back to when you said at the start of this about you doing your apprenticeship and the passion and the old school mentality, because it's something that I find a lot of apprentices think aren't out there anymore. Like, I just want to get your 2 cents about this. So, especially from someone now that runs a fucking company that doesn't do, you know, the fucking formwork all the way through to hand pitching the ceiling, the roofs and all that sort of stuff. How do you go about with your apprentices? Because that's not obviously, like, same as me. I don't offer that. That's not what I'm set up to do. I try my best to expose them to as much as I can, but I'm very straight up with saying them that we don't do renos, right? I might get the random guy here and there and I might try to do it, but for the most part, I can't promise that. Is that something that you come up against quite regularly? And like, is that something that you find, like, with your apprentices, that, you know, do you ever say that to them, that, you know, I can't offer you renos and stuff like that?
Yeah.
We don't really do it.
We're pretty straight up with them at the start. We're basically all new build companies. So, which is, in my eyes, a lot better than half of the guys that just focus on one thing. You know, they just do. We're sort of in the middle grounds. Yeah, that they don't get the exposure to renos.
Yeah.
And we have had a few guys leave because they just want to go and chase renos.
Yeah.
I think they think it's easier work, you know, than out there, new build, the guys that haven't done it, obviously, you know, rather than new build, go, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, definitely have had that issue with with apprentices.
Yeah.
But we like exposing them to the whole scope of carpentry.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, not every job do you get every scope, but it's, I guess, you're just trying to give them as much as you possibly can. And because that's hard for me. Like, you know, I want to get my guys finished with as much experience as I can, but unfortunately I don't run You know, I don't have the ability to be like, all right, well, I'm going to get you tying steel and fucking pouring, like, fuck, if we're tying steel and pouring slabs on the jobs that we're on, we're in trouble. Like, it's
and
not.
that's the whole thing. Like, my guys go through Blue Dog for their training, and they've still got the concreting questions and stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going, well, yeah, I get it. It's good to know, but at the same time, carpentry, like, it's not really carpentry.
Yeah.
You know, and our guys, everything to do with carpentry, they'll learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they might not know how to do a reno, rip something down, rip fucking plasterboard down or something off the ceiling on some old house, but they will know how to build a house at the end of their trade.
Yeah, and I think that's the argument that I've had, because I've had guys come from the reno background to come to us, and then vice versa, leave to go to the reno background. Is I always say to my guys, like, jokingly, I say, listen, anyone can fucking YouTube how to do a bread loaf staircase or, put a set of stringers on, right? But there's a big difference between doing that sort of stuff where you're just tinkering around with a fucking, a bit of decking or something like that, versus actually building a 3-story fucking house all the way to the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That takes a little bit of a different thing. I feel like knowing now, and, as I said, I'm speaking from experience, I know now both sides of the fence. It'd be a lot easier for me to go from a new build background to then learn renos, from then just to do renos, your whole fucking thing, to then go into a new build where you just be like, fuck, like, I don't even know how to do this,
Yep, 100% agree with you on that, yeah.
So that's just been something that I'll fucking...
You need to learn the fundamentals of how to build a house, the structural elements of the house, how it goes together, build a house from the ground up, and then I feel like you can specialise in renos after that.
Yeah.
But I worry about the guys that do renos for their whole apprenticeship, and they've hardly even touched a house.
Oh, they've only done one. Like, I was speaking to a guy recently. He did 2 houses in 4 years.
Yeah.
That's it. He was on one house for 18 months. 18 months he was on one. Don't get me wrong. Oh, yeah, but that house is fucking blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was a $6 million home. But, hey, it's still one fucking house.
Yeah.
One system. It's got curved wall. Yeah, great. But it's still one site, one house, one lot of stuff. Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like it's enough experience, right? Because for our guys, mate, they'd go to 20 sites a month, right? They're getting exposed to different environments, different products, different plans, different speeds. Like, I just feel like the experience is there, but that's why I'm just sort of trying to bring this up, to bring awareness to the guys that are listening, that are in that volume space where they are doing that. Like, I don't know, that's just my,
It's just a different skill set at the same time as well, like, completely different skill set. I do firmly believe that that one aspect of carpentry needs to stop. They need to start cracking down on that the guys that do cladding for 4 years and they get signed off as a carpenter.
Oh, yeah.
Or they do fix outs for 4 years.
But it's the same as like form working.
Yeah.
You can be a form worker for 4 years and then be licensed to build a house. How does that fucking work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And vice versa. Put me on a set of fucking form me up a set of staircases in the city. I'd learn how to do it.
Yeah.
I know how to cut and fucking put it together, but hey, it's not my, like, I just feel like they need to, almost
crack down on that, because that's the issue we're getting as well, that a lot of tradies that are applying for the position, for the carpentry position, they'll call me up and they'll go, oh, we only do the one thing, they'll only do X, Y, Z, and I'm going, well, we do the whole scope, where we are. In my eyes, it's, you really shouldn't be calling yourself carpenter if you can only do the one thing. I just think, and it's just the way it's happened over time, where people just, they go into their thing because they can make more money in it, like if they do the same thing day in, day out, but it's just not fair. It's not fair on the apprentices though. That don't get exposed to it.
Yeah. All right. Talk to me about have you ever had experience with this whole government thing that they've had with the international students coming over? Just so to give it context to everyone, and because we're talking now from like an employer side, there's this government thing where if you're an international student, you can come over, you can do, I think from correction, it's about 2 years. They do the practical in theory all at TAFE, and then they walk out after the 2 years with certificate 3 as a carpenter.
Yep.
How cooked is it?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And that's...
I didn't know that it was a thing until I looked into it, and I was like, how is this even fucking...
Yeah.
How is this even legal? Like, I had a guy that couldn't even use a fucking tape.
Yeah. it's the government's way of the labour shortage, you know, fixing the labour shortage.
Yeah.
But it's only going to create more problems down the track, you know. We have had experiences with it, but the guys have been straight up with us, and you know, they've told me the whole story from the start. They've said, "Yep, we've done this." We've taken them on board, you know, but it's basically like a post apprenticeship sort of thing. So they've come to me. They said, "Yeah, technically I'm a carpenter, but I don't, you know, I don't call myself a carpenter. I still need a lot of training." So we've taken them under our wing. We've told the guys, you know, like these, they still need a lot of training. We've taken them on board. We're trying to train them up in house. And that's, you know, it's only a couple of the guys, but
how does the pay? So this is the argument that I've had with it, right? Is if they come in as a carpenter, you can't just slap it on them an apprentice rate.
No, you
They'll
can't.
take
No,
you to fair
absolutely
work.
not. Yeah, absolutely.
So
No,
my argument is always like, and don't get me wrong, yes, every carpenter out there isn't getting paid the fucking award anyway, right? There isn't a single fucking chippy out there that's getting paid the award rate. That's gone out the fucking window. So, but my argument to them, and I've had it from other chippies that I've had as well, is like, okay, if you're paying fucking apples for apples, right? Once you're qualified, that's it. I expect you to fucking be no different than this guy. You know, if I'm only paying this guy an extra fucking couple bucks more than you, but yet these guys are coming out, they got the qualification, but they're saying, oh, I'm still an apprentice. But then guess what, fucking Australian government, we can't then just turn around and be like, oh, well, we'll just give you an apprentice rate. No. We have to pay him as a qualified. Otherwise, they're going to freaking take us to fair work and be like, oh, you know.
Yeah, it's a problem. Like it is. And I actually don't know how it's legal at the same time, you know, to do the 2 years. Like if you stack it up, how's it fair?
Experience.
How is it fair that, you know, this person over here has to do a 4-year apprenticeship and this one over here does 2 years in a TAFE, pays the money and then gets a Cert 3? How, you know, like it just doesn't stack up.
It doesn't stack up. Like when I read into it and I really looked into it a little bit, I went down a rabbit hole and I was like, fuck. I looked at like how many people that's going through this thing a year and I was like, yeah, that is the government's way of like trying to fill that gap. But at the same time, man, like, fuck. What are they doing? It was crazy.
There's not enough apprentices jumping on board though.
No.
At the same time, which is a massive issue as well. You know, like it's not the right way to fix it, but at the same time, we're not getting enough guys coming through sticking out the 4 years at the same time. Like if you look at the completion rates declining, like it's
massive.
Yeah, it's like,
you know, I think like we're lucky enough now that, you know, we've had to go down the path of like readjusting, like putting a lot of time to the apprentices and culture and teams and all that sort of stuff. So we're able to keep that retention there a little bit. But for the most part, man, these guys are just like it's not enticing to them. And I have a lot of old boys sit there and be like, fucking back in my day. But I don't know. I sort of emphasize with these apprentices a little bit because, you know, and I've preached this on here before. When I was an apprentice, there was no fucking TikTok. There was no like, sign my course, I'll show you to make 10 grand a day. There was none of that. It was just watching this guy rock up in a nice ute and being like, I want that, what I need to do, I got to work hard. That was it. That was the motivating factor. Where now you're getting little old Johnny that's 18 sitting at Smoko getting his $17 an hour, fucking scrolling on his phone. He sees a guy that's 21 living in Dubai driving a Lambo. Do you know what I mean? No, this is the mental battle that a lot of these young guys are having that are coming through. So I do emphasize with them a little bit.
Absolutely.
And I just say to them, like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You guys are surrounded by all these dipsticks out there telling you. I seen a guy on Instagram the other day literally promoting for all guys just to leave construction.
Yeah.
To leave carpentry. Oh, I was a carpenter. Fucking worst trade. Like, man. Like, but I'm sitting there and I'm going, it is a good trade to get into. And it's a Ponzi scheme. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, like sign up to my course.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, sign up to my course. They're the only ones getting rich.
Yeah. If you got to sell a course, you're obviously you're not good enough at what you do anyway. No. Everyone that's good enough at what they do don't need to sell a fucking course.
And when you're that young, man, like you're not thinking, you're going, you know, you wake up, your alarm goes off 5:30, you roll over, look at Instagram, who's on there? Oh, someone's saying quit your job, sign up to his course, you know, like, I get it.
They're surrounded by it, dude. Yeah. Surrounded. Fucking 5 a.m. when they're sitting on the toilet about to leave for work, they get home at 9:30, they get out of the shower, they lay in bed, they are fucking surrounded by it and it's getting injected into their head and it's just drilled. And that is, in all honesty, fucking hand on heart, that is the reason why we're going to have such an issue here, right, in Australia with construction. You know, and the government's bringing this incentive of $10,000, fucking blah, blah, blah. It's not enough. It's not enough.
No,
right?
no, it's not. And, you know, in the same breath, we do have a lot of good apprentices as well.
Yeah.
It comes down to the person.
Yeah.
You know, we're still getting a lot of, you know, good young guys, hardworking.
Yeah.
A lot of, you know, country guys that just are really good workers and want to get into the trade.
Yeah.
You know,
They
do
are
a good
out
job.
there.
They're out there, man, but they're getting harder and harder to find.
Harder and harder, yeah.
Yeah.
Harder
And I'm
harder.
sure when we were doing when we were back doing our apprentices, the same thing would have been happening.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys just saying, no, it's too hard.
I think back then it was a little, you know, we knew what we were getting into.
Yeah.
So like you were getting into it knowing that it was going to be hard physically, financially.
Yeah.
Where like now I feel like, you know, and what I'm trying to get to is like back then, yeah, we got into it, but we weren't then surrounded by, you didn't have that other
Social
aspect.
media,
Yeah,
yeah,
you weren't
yeah.
surrounded by that other aspect.
Yeah.
That was just giving you that fucking extra little thing to kick you and
Yeah.
be like, oh, you know.
Like you can glorify the trade as much as you want. At the end of the day, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
You know, and when there's someone on Instagram saying you can make X amount of money for not doing any work, you know what I mean? It's going to be appealing to jump on board with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. Like I said before, I definitely emphasise with the kids because, we shouldn't call them kids, the apprentices, because if I was seeing that stuff, man, like, you know, like if I was looking at that stuff online, I'd think the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, like...
when you do a 12-hour day
Yeah.
and you're tanked, you get home, you know what I mean? You got to wake up again at 5 o'clock the next morning. You got this guy that's like, I just made $2,500 in 13 minutes. It's like, what? Like,
Yeah,
fuck,
but it's
like,
not realistic, and
fuck.
it's not real. Like we look at that stuff now, and we go, yeah, right, all right,
Yeah.
bullshit,
Yeah.
bullshit, yeah. But when you're
Yeah.
young, you're going, you know,
Yeah.
you're falling for the crap,
Yeah,
man.
it's such a passion of mine, man. That's why like I just try to put so much time and energy to my guys that I have, and just like trying to educate them a little bit and say like, listen, like, and I'm straight up with them when we have our onboarding session, and I sit down with them and I tell them about like me and like what we did and fucking all that sort of stuff. I'm straight up with them. Say, listen, it is going to be hard, right? There's no two ways about it. The apprenticeship, it's as fucking hard as it is out, like physically, financially, everything like that. But I'd be honest with them. I say the hardest thing is not the money, it's not the body, it's all the outside noise.
Yeah.
You go into like, I always use this as a little bit of a trick. I always say to them, like an example, they've just worked a full week, 50 hours, 60, whatever the fuck. They go to a barbecue on a Saturday. Their mate, John, he's a security guard in the valley, right? First thing he'll fucking say is, oh yeah, I make like fucking $60 an hour. Like, you may as well just leave where you're at, man. Like, fuck, how much you want? Oh, fuck, man, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't roll out but that's what I always say to these apprentices. It's all these little things that in the moment, because I've had guys sit there and be like, oh, nah, no chance. I wouldn't fucking listen. You say that, right? But I'm telling you now, these are all the little things that they'll mentally stack up. And on those days where they're like, nah, this is like they're halfway through their second year, they've just had a shit week, they've fucked things up, the boss is into it. These are all the things that will just snip at the back of their head, and it'll be the first thing they'll be like, nah. They'll just throw it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then what happens if they jump on board with these courses? They jump on board, sign up, whatever. They do it for 5, 6, however long they do it, and then it all goes to shit.
Yeah.
And then what do they got? No university degree, no trade.
Yeah.
They're a lot older at that stage,
Exactly.
Like it's just...
I just say to them all, like, start it, and just stay in it, and block everything out.
Yeah.
Right?
Do your 4 years, get it done.
Just fucking, just do your 4 years, and then after you get your qualification, you've done your 4 years, I don't care what you do. Go down the coast and go and smoke weed and be a barista.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck you want to do, I don't care. Go and sniff flowers.
Yeah.
Fucking surf your life away. But you'll have your qualification. Do not do your apprenticeship. Do not start your apprenticeship if you got any shadow of a doubt that you're going to, like, obviously, don't get me wrong, there's apprentices out there that get abused, and this, that, and the other, they got to leave. Whatever, right? But if you're starting it with the fucking anticipation that you're just doing it to do it, and there's a strong chance you're going to leave, don't do it.
Yeah. Because
there's a lot easier ways to make money out there. Go and be a fucking checkout person in JB Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
Go and fucking sell cars at a dealership. There's easier ways to make money. An apprenticeship is not that. It's a career job, right?
Yeah.
Like, for us, there's no chance me and you are going to fucking switch up trades and go be a chef.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm too far. I'm too deep.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. This is what I do. This is me.
Yep.
So, But anyway, that's some advice for you guys that are thinking about, getting into it or already in it. Yeah. All right. Continuing on. Here we go. Oh, we're getting to it. Oh, fuck. Nick. We're cruising. All right. So, let's have a look. Okay. So we touched on pretty much that whole philosophy of the culture and, social media and all that sort of stuff, right? But talk to me now a little bit about, you sort of said about your developments and all that sort of stuff. And you're at 20, 25 guys now, Anco for what it is. Do you see yourself now downsizing it even further? Or are you happy to pretty much just let it go and ramp up the development side of it? And how are you, what's your future plans for Anco? Where are you at now?
Yeah, we have no plans on downsizing any further.
Yeah.
No, we're at a good number now.
Yeah.
I just start that transition of me trying to exit a little bit.
Yeah.
And then bringing my 2RC up
Yeah.
further. We're working on that transition at the moment.
Mm.
And then the plan is just to keep that going. Depending on the jobs, I would look at ramping back up. A few more guys.
Yeah.
If we needed to. It's just depending on.
And are you constantly just adjusting your structure of how that's all going to plan out? Like, how have you been able to, because there's a lot of guys that are established that listen to this podcast as well. How have you been able to create that structure? Like, are you creating roles, or have you got an exit strategy a little bit there? Like, about stepping away a little bit?
As soon as I got off the tools, I was head down in the office, just a lot of systems, quote sheets, stuff like that. So basically, it's a plug and play sort of scenario for any job.
Yeah.
The estimator, he's all over it.
Yeah.
He'll do the job, apply all the rates, flick it back. I'll just review it, which is what I want to sort of transition to my 2RC, to sort of step up and do that.
Yeah.
And then, basically press go on that. A lot of tendering, that sort of situation.
Yeah. So you're not really doing any of the tendering or anything now at the moment. You're sort of handing that all to the estimator. So I'll pick the tenders to go in on.
Yeah. Depending on capacity at the same time.
Yeah.
So
it's just resourcing management. And that
basically,
sort of stuff.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm still flat out. I'm still
obviously
feel.
That's a fucking Let me just premise this for you guys that are listening. Like, he's definitely not like you guys are probably like, oh fuck, it's easy. He just goes fishing every day. Yeah. Like, nah,
definitely not. It was the opposite last year. With the amount of guys that we had, it was 12-hour days. 6 days a week just to keep your head above water.
Yeah.
But it's only now that, because we were at that sort of level, then we come back down, that we can sort of take a breath, And all this, we outgrew our systems and procedures, definitely.
Yeah.
When we're at that, but we've come back down now. We've spent a lot more time working on the company, and creating all that stuff. So, basically, head down, doing all the quote sheets, doing everything like that.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, created a bit more time for myself.
So the last thing I'm going to touch on, because this is something that I've been on the journey of, still am. How running such a large company, because I do push this quite a bit as well, the mental strain of the waves, the cash flow waves, financial strain, fucking sitting on the bed in cold sweats. You got guys up your ass, or you're going to hit late on this, or this payment missed, or defects, it's a constant stuff. Nothing ever runs smooth. I don't care who you are, what business you run.
Yeah.
Right? We can all put on the facade that, fuck them, it's all good. It's not, right? Everyone's got their issues. So how have you, because don't get me wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I can guarantee you there's been months where you've been like, fuck, we've missed a payment, like how are we going to do that? How have you been able to mentally get through those times? And what's been some of your key things that you've been able to implement, or, lessons learned? You know what I mean?
Definitely on my wife a fair bit.
Yeah.
Like, when it was at the point where we were stressed about cash flow, we were worried about payments, late payments, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was around the time of the wedding, and that's when we made the decision to back off then.
Yeah.
Because we worked out the pros and cons. We just said it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
The extra stress.
Yeah.
Since then, we've implemented a lot of safety stuff as well.
Yeah.
So, different apps. Every single day, the boys will do a toolbox non-negotiable. Every single morning, it'll be about a different item every morning.
Yeah.
Whether it's manual handling, nail gun safety, circular saws, but every single day there is a toolbox getting done. Everybody signs off through the company.
Yeah.
Yep, send that through. So just those sort of things as well.
Yeah.
Safety is massive with us, being on those jobs. Like it's just, and that's just going back to the multi-residential side of it.
Yeah.
That's also when it gets so hard with pricing.
Yeah.
Because you might be pricing against someone that's, has no safety, processes and procedures,
Nothing. They might not even have an office. They might not even have back-end staff. They might just be on the fucking tools. Like you compete, and that's but it goes down to selling and, create that relationship.
Yep. So, that's why that scene's so hard to be competitive on price.
Yeah.
So just safety is a massive one. That was one of our biggest things for this year, is just to crack down on safety procedures.
Yeah.
Get that across the line. Other than that, just keep doing the same sort of systems that we have been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, sweet. Yeah, because it's like for me, man, the waves you get the largest amount of money in, largest amount of money out, and if you track it over the course of the year, some months are good and some months are shit, and the pill does get harder and harder to swallow. You don't just go from fucking 5 guys or 10 guys to 30. Your fucking wages are like 70,000 a fucking month. Like you're up heaps, you know what I mean? Or if not more.
Especially when
you can be in 40 grand a week.
Yeah.
In wages. Like fuck, you miss one payment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially when
where's the money come from?
When you're in that growth period as well, because everything you're making, you're putting straight back in.
Yeah.
And you put a couple of guys on, and you're on 30-day end of month payment terms. You're not seeing any money for those guys for a long time. They're doing the work, you're invoicing. So before you're even getting any money for those guys, you're floating them for 2 months basically.
Yeah.
So that's a hard part of growing as well. Watching your cash flow with that.
Yeah. And how have you been able? Because obviously your wife's in finance, that's obviously a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But do you guys use a lot of roadmap? Like, do you guys do a lot of forecasting and to relieve the fucking stress of that and the ATO and tracking all that?
So we do a 6-month cash flow forecast.
Yeah.
Which minimum 3 months, because obviously with 30-day end of payment terms, you go through Christmas. You got to be forecasting.
Yeah.
Obviously your money going out, money coming in.
Yeah.
Your bills.
So you already know, like you'll already know where you're going to be at.
Yeah, within a reason. Obviously there's going to be jobs that come in or don't run as
Whatever,
you're not. But in the ballpark.
Yeah.
So we know what's coming and what's going out.
Yeah.
And then we can make decisions on that.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Like at the start, you pretty much.
Oh, you're just rolling off whatever's in your account.
I was driving blind for so long, man. Like for the first 3 or 4 years, like I knew nothing about business. Until you get off the tools and you can start doing a bit of investing a bit of time into yourself and education.
Yeah.
Which you have to do at a point. You can only take it so far when you're on the tools.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, no, sweet. All right. Well, I think we could fucking yap for like another 4 hours. But anyway, man, this has been a good one. I know this one's probably been the most relaxed one that we've had. Just been able to shoot the shit. But I hope you guys have got a little bit of, insight or a little bit of knowledge into the whole contracts game that we both play. Hayden definitely runs a fairly large thing up at the sunny coast. So, I'm sure if you guys ever had any questions or you want to reach out to him, I'm sure he'd be able to help you along the way. And Hayden, I want to thank you again, man, for coming on. You're a busy man, and I definitely think we should run this back in years to come when the development aspect kicks off. So
thanks for having me on, Corey.
Yeah.
And like Corey said, anyone reach out, any questions, more than happy to help out wherever I can.
Sweet. All right, Hayden, thank you again.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this week's episode. If something hit home for you, it would mean the absolute world to us if you could like and share this podcast with someone else that would benefit from it. Tune into next week's episode, as this will be one that you don't want to miss.